Hello people! You might be wondering why I am currently baking lussekatter, a sort of Swedish pastry, in the middle of the night. You might wonder why I'm doing this. And I'm going to tell you. It is part of the Lussevaka, the Luciaghtvigil, before Lucia, Saint Lucia's Day, being on the 13th of December. And you are supposed to be awake at night on the 12th of December, doing preparations for Lucia. And now I'm going to tell you a bit about the traditions and the preparations associated with the Lussevaka. In the older times, and still today in certain regions of Sweden, young people celebrated on the day and night before Saint Lucia's Day, which was called Lucy Long Night, because according to the calendar of that time, that was used in early modern Sweden, the Julian calendar, it was the longest night of the year, and youth gangs of younger men and boys used to prank people in the streets, usually clad in various costumes and masks, and they used to beg for food, candy and alcohol. Nowadays, that last one, alcohol, is only for those above 18, but back in the day, there was not an age limit on drinking, and thus alcohol was one of those things people actually asked for. Nowadays it's usually candy that is asked for in exchange for not pranking people. Kind of like trick or treat during Halloween. Although it was not fully appreciated at times, there are accounts of various confrontations resulting from various pranks historically. It was still an accepted practice, and you were supposed to give gifts and accept the pranks. These revelry traditions largely stopped when people moved into the cities, although it is still common for young people on the countryside to have some similar traditions on the days surrounding Lucia, especially in the remoter inland places of Sweden. Though Americanization and the adoption of Halloween traditions have sadly made this rarer, as it is now more usually done on the day of Halloween than on the day of the Lussevaka. Why people clad themselves in these costumes and pranked people has to do with a reference to the fact that in folk belief, Lucia night was a dangerous night, with supernatural beings and various spirits aligned to evil and the devil being more active, and dressing up in various costumes to make fun of them was a way to diminish the fear of them and to diminish their powers, and to ridicule them in such a way that these spirits and monsters kept away during the night and the coming day of Lucia. Also, it is funny to dress up in costumes and do pranks. Let's be honest. So in that sense, it is actually quite similar to All Hallows Eve. That is to say Halloween, in that similar beliefs and reasons for dressing up in order to imitate these beliefs of spirits and folk devils being active exists in both traditions here. But now back to the Lussevaka. According to superstition mixed with various religious beliefs, it was important not to grind, spin, brew, wash or perform any other so-called sensitive work if you were a woman, as it would excite and draw these creatures' attention to you, and thus threaten your Christian virtue, which was important for the Lucia Day procession that would happen on the day after, during the 13th December. Hence, men were to perform all work on the 12th of December, and were supposed to do the preparations for Saint Lucia's Day too, such as the baking of lussekatter during the night as I am doing currently. And these lussekatter are a bread-like pastry that includes saffron and raisins. Saffron being a very expensive spice in the past that not all could afford, and raisins being equally something that was only afforded by the more affluent people in society, made the lussekatter into a great gift to be given to the poor on Saint Lucia's Day as a great act of charity in giving a type of sweetbread, a type of pastry that they otherwise would never have gotten the chance to eat. And these lussekatter would be handed out as charity for the poor during the Lucia processions that would happen on the 13th December. Lussekatter are also today baked a lot for charities and sold at markets during the days around Lucia, and the money that is earned from this is then donated to the needy, so the tradition kind of still remains. Even if it isn't the case anymore that the women of the Lucia procession are giving these lussekatter directly to the needy, it is given indirectly to the needy. Though exceptions do of course exist, such as Lucia processions at hospitals, orphanages, and in poorer neighborhoods, where lussekatter are donated directly to the needy. But these are more the exceptions rather than the rule, as Sweden nowadays is a country with a strong welfare system and social security system that makes this tradition of local welfare redundant in most cases. So instead people focus more on charity abroad and gathering money for charity abroad, or in very peculiar specific cases, usually non-locally. So the giving of lussekatter as a type of charity is not that common nowadays. With that said though, it is still tradition during the Lucia processions that you do give lussekatter to some people that are around the procession. Usually to people in the family and or people of the local community, and that you eat lussekatter after the procession. So it isn't entirely gone. And lussekatter are still associated with acts of generosity towards others. And traditionally, lussekatter were given by the women in the processions. And though the women might be the ones giving the lussekatter were usually baked by men, as again women were and are not supposed to work during the Lussevaka. And the men were supposed to do everything in preparation for Saint Lucia's day on the following day. For example, the men would be washing the white clothing that the women would wear during the Lucia procession and prepare for the procession in various ways, like preparing the candles and being in celibacy during the day and night before the Lucia procession. And baths would also be prepared for all the participants to bathe in during the day before Lucia, as that day was an obligatory bathing day, as getting yourself cleaned up by bathing would be performed by all participants as a matter of ritual purity, ritual cleanliness for the procession. During the day before Lucia, it would be a hectic day for the men preparing everything. Meanwhile, the women would throughout the day of the Lussevaka be performing various prayers and doing repetitions of the hymns and prayers that would be sung during the Lucia procession. Though, unlike the men working at night, the women would be sleeping during the night to be awakened just before dawn in order to participate in the Lucia procession. These women would be helped by the women not participating in the procession and the still awake men to get prepared for the procession. Smaller boys that were also part of the procession would also be included in these activities of preparation. And clad in the Lucia procession clothing, the typical white clothing shown here, and given candles and torches that they would wear and carry during the procession, they would carry out the procession activities on the day of Lucia. And then you would have the Lucia procession done in the praise of Saint Lucia and God. And that is the Lussevaka, the preparatory day and night before Lucia, Saint Lucia's day. So now you know why I'm doing this baking of lussekatter. And also, by the way, these lussekatter taste really good, if I'm allowed to say so myself. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities.
اشتركوا بالقناة من فضلكم.